Good.
Should be here in just a moment.
Good. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to go ahead and open up the September 28th, 2020 board meeting at the Harmon Lodge, and we are streaming this meeting live on YouTube, and thanks to all the members that are out there that are logging on, and we'll kind of keep tabs of how many people are out there as the meter keeps turning. I'll go ahead and start with a call to order and roll call. Lori Parrish.
Here.
Charlie Brown.
Here.
Jonathan Klug.
Here.
Chris Johnson.
Here.
Ned Lust.
Here.
Daryl Young.
Here.
Jim Reederer.
Here.
Doug Potts.
Here.
Thank you. If we could just take a moment for individual silent prayer, please. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll start with the approval of the minutes. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the August 24th, 2020 regular board meeting as presented. Charlie, thank you. Was that Lori? Thank you, Lori. Any changes or additions?
Greg, should we be putting something in here about this, we're meeting virtually, that members are not in attendance as part of the meeting minutes somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know. What do y'all think? Is that something we should notate in the minutes? Anybody got a thought on that? I don't think it would hurt.
I think it's a good idea. I think it should be mentioned.
Okay. If we can make that one change then, to note that there was a virtual stream meeting. Okay. With that, if there's no other changes, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Ned. All right. The President's report, I'll just start with that. And first and foremost, just there's not a whole lot of updates on our favorite phrase, the COVID-19. But I want to assure everybody that we continue to monitor both the state, at the state level, as well as the county level as to developments. And Doug and his staff are staying close, particularly to the county level, but also the state level as well. And we'll communicate out as things develop with COVID. We've heard some rumblings about the governor making some changes in October. I think some of those are expected to be related to the schools and not necessarily organizations like ourselves, but we'll stay tuned and keep you posted on that. The second item I had, I just want to mention the town hall that we just had September 19th. It was actually the first ever virtual town hall that we had on voting and security related topics. And again, I want to thank all the members that participated in that, and thank all the board and other members that were actually part of the town hall. But that was terrific. We had in total close to 100 people from time to time tuning in with us. We had a steady flow of 55 to 65 people out there, what the metrics told us. And the cool thing is unlike sometimes, we much prefer the in-person town halls, clearly, but unlike some of those, we were able to get to every single member question and comment. Every single one was read, answered, and the member was thanked, and the members did a great job with that as well. Some people coming back asking follow-up questions and whatnot, so that really, really helped. And we're kind of digesting what we learned from that town hall, from particularly the member feedback, and we'll be looking at our next steps in the days and weeks ahead with that. I'm just going to mention, instead of in the committee reports, I have one committee that works through me, and it's an ad hoc committee, and the fun topic of the Unit 4 shower houses. And I just want to update you on that one. We've got a lot of good people working on that, and several people from Unit 4 that are involved with that. And we're coming near the finish line on that, and we've got a meeting this Thursday to talk about it, but we're looking for maybe a drawing or possibly 2 drawings on a renovation to both the men's and women's shower house in Unit 4 to bring them more up to speed and improve some of the lighting, the ventilation, and the room and amenities regarding the showers and the toilets and that type of a thing. So we're looking at a pretty decent renovation, and the whole goal was to get this work done, get some drawings done, so we can get firm bids in time to be included in our budget process for next year. And I'll talk about that in just a second. So that's where we are at on the Unit 4 shower houses. I mentioned budget season, and that's starting. It's a fun time. Charlie's all excited, and Leslie's excited, and Doug's excited about the budget, I'm sure. But there's a lot of involvement of our staff. That the best way to run a budget is you have a little bit of top down, but you also need some bottom up, and because those are the people that help you make sure you don't forget things. So there's a lot of involvement of staff. All of Doug's staff are involved as they have operating budgets in all the different areas, and our committees are a big part of that as well, because the committees can kick in information on, hey, we don't forget we got to do this with lake and siltation or maintenance or what have you. So it's a really collaborative process, and that's kicking off now in earnest in October, and with any good fortune, perhaps we'll have a budget to approve in December. It doesn't always happen. The December meeting is fairly early in December, but if not, sometimes we have a special meeting mid-December or 1st of January, something like that. But we're kicking that season off as we speak. Second to last item I have here is just an ongoing focus on customer service in the organization, and I'm not going to steal too much of Doug's thunder because he's going to talk about some of that, but I really like the discussion on the culture of a member-focused association, and that's what we're really about. We've got to fix some things with some technology, some real baseline things that are going to help us in that endeavor, and they're kind of hindering us right now, and you'll hear more about that in the weeks to come, but we're going to continue to have this focus on a member-focused culture and a member-focused association. And you'll see improvements continuously. What you'll see with regard to that is you're going to see surveys from time to time. We use that SurveyMonkey software that's really easy to use, and we're going to be sending out surveys here and there. We really appreciate the feedback, and the ones we've sent out have been tremendous. We get I think 200-300 each time. The last one might have been over 300 that we sent out. And they're quick and easy, but they tell us a lot about how, where we stand on various things. So you can look forward to that going forward. We're doing those to help establish a baseline as to where we are, but also the follow-ups are to find out how we did, how we're doing, to hold ourselves accountable. So that's the reason to do those. So last item, this is not really a business item. You got to have something fun in here. So I just want to tell you a quick story. I've been in Candlewood for about 6 years in total, and I've never stepped foot on the Big Island until recently. And I've heard stories about the Big Island and Chris and Michelle Montag cleaning it up, and I know a lot of volunteers, and I thank them for doing that. Jerry Rule built a new dock on Jerry's Nickel, so you could take your boat over there and go on it, but it was amazing. We took our 4 grandkids. I took a huge pizza, a giant picnic, and we had actually a scavenger hunt with our grandkids, and they absolutely loved it. We walked around the entire island. It's not grown up. You don't have to worry about ticks and all that kind of stuff. It was literally amazing. It's got a lot of elevation and elevation changes, and if you haven't done it, take your boat over to one of the 2 docks over there and walk around the Big Island. It's really, really cool. So I just wanted to share that quick story about a really cool thing at Candlewood that I didn't know about until recently. At least I hadn't stepped foot on it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Doug Potts for our general manager report.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate the opportunity. Just wanted to thank everyone that served on all the committees. It's absolutely amazing the commitment that the community has had on the various committees. And I'm going into almost my 60th day here, and some things that I've noticed right away is those individuals that are committed and do an outstanding job on all the various committees. And I just wanted to thank them for that. I think moving forward, some of the things that we have to be able to realize is that the greatest danger in the times of needing a culture change is not the change itself, but trying to bring the change with yesterday's logic. So what we are trying to do from the office and in each different committee is that we want to have a positive 100% supportive attitude on helping the members of the community and so forth. And as Greg alluded to, that we will periodically send out surveys to get a pulse on the culture. And the surveys that you responded to, about 360 people responded to that, and usually that's about double what everyone has responded to. And some of the things that were hot buttons on that survey was security, and we're going to definitely see some changes in security. Starting the first week in October, we will have a new director of security coming on board, Joe Butler, and we will have additional 2 security members also being hired in that process just to help out with security. And the survey had indicated that primarily the most important thing here, along with our lake and roads and security, is something that we're going to address. Also, I think it's very important to build relationships. And I've often said in my 30-day report, you know, be the change you want to see in others. And sometimes it's very difficult to remain positive and supportive of everything that's happening here. But that's something that we stress. And in the office, we're developing that relationship with the 4 individuals in the office that we deal with problems on a daily basis, and it's all about having a positive relationship, supporting one another, and knowing that you're going to be able to work through some of the difficult times. And I think something that we definitely have to bring to the table is to have the ability to listen to our members and the concerns that they have. I think it's very important to have an opportunity to sit down and listen to them and actually be there and actually hear what they're saying, because sometimes it's very easy to sit down and act as if you're actively listening, but you're not understanding what's going on. And I take great pride in the fact that if you're calling in the office and you need a response right away, you're going to have that response within an hour, and usually you're going to be notified of your question within 24 hours. I think it's critical that if you have questions or concerns about anything that's going on, please let us know, because definitely we're all about the change and moving forward and just celebrating our successes. That's something that we don't do often enough. And the hardest thing, I think, for everyone to realize is that we have to remain positive and know that we're going to make decisions in the office based upon what we think is right and just, and we're all about integrity and doing the right thing. And if you have any concerns or any questions about water bills or anything else that's going on right now in the community, just let us know, and you'll get an answer from the ladies in the office or myself. And you know, we realize there's some issues that we're working through. We're in the process of implementing some new technologies, and we are all about trying to make things better for everybody involved. So I appreciate all the leadership that Greg has had, and all the other board members, and all the members of the various committees who've done an outstanding job, and it's a great place to be, and we'll continue to just do what is right and continue to make Candlewood a better place. Thank you.
Okay, next slide, I guess. Is that yours? Yeah, finance is next. Charlie, and before you get started, I just want to mention, I should have mentioned it early on, is that we're monitoring the screens as to the questions and comments, and we'll stop periodically to grab those, be it during committees or new business, and certainly by the end at member participation.
Well, as you can see from the slide here, we are continuing in an extremely positive financial position. Again, here on this slide, the thing that's most important is the current ratio at the bottom. And again, you want to be somewhere between 1.25 and 2.0 as a minimum. And we are actually this year at 2.1, which means that for every dollar's worth of expense, that bills that we have coming in, we actually have $2.10 to pay that. So we're in a strong position to be able to meet all of our financial requirements. If you look at the current assets and the change over this year over last year, that really is not nearly as telling as the total assets. Right now, the current assets are so much higher because we happen to have more cash on hand, because both a building is an asset and cash is an asset, but you can't spend your building very easily. So this particular year, more of our holdings are in cash, but the fact that that's up in 234% doesn't really mean that much, because our total assets are up 4.9%, which is a much better reflection of our current financial position. So there you have it. And we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, and here you will see that our operating revenues are down 4.9%, which means that we've taken in less money this year. But if you'll also notice, and that's COVID related, but our operating expenses, the office has done just a terrific job of keeping our expenses down during this COVID period. So not only are they're substantially less than the decrease in the operating revenues. So overall, we're actually, we have a net, we're in a stronger position, let's put it that way, at the end than we were at the beginning of the month. So that's great compared to last year. Okay, and next slide. Okay, and our reserve and capital funds. We are working in our budget to get a stronger, a more accurate position on the exact amount of money in the reserve account. We are doing, the office is going through and looking at every penny that has been brought in specifically for reserves, and we are making some additional adjustments to make sure that we're reflecting operating reserve and capital funds available correctly. And you can see here that we have, we're in a strong position. The ending balance, so we have $273 in the positive year to date. So that all is great. So congratulations to all the committees and to the office for doing such a super job during these difficult times. Okay, and next, if that's okay.
Is there any questions from the board on the finances? I'll keep monitoring the member questions coming in. Okay, hearing none. Go the Finance Committee.
Okay, earlier last year and very early in 2020, there were concerns about some of the financial reporting not being up to date. And for the last several months, I've been able to report that everything is up to date. And it's probably sounding a little repetitive. Everything remains up to date. I just want you to know that that wasn't a one-time freaky thing. Everything's up to date, and unless that changes, that won't be my first comment for the Finance Committee next time. And again, that we do remain in a strong financial position. And the next slide, please. Again, as Greg indicated, we are doing our budget preparation, and we're trying to get this as accurate as possible. So for all of you who are working on committees or have wish lists out there of how Candlewood should spend our funds, this is time to get your overall topic on the budget, so we can, and then we'll be working to fine tune the precise amounts. So certainly we already have the revamping of Unit 4 shower building on the budget, but as we're able to get more specific dollar amounts with that, it'll be much better. Sometimes I realize we aren't in a position to get down to a precise quote because no one's going to give you that until we're about ready to begin. But the closer we can get to actual amounts, the more likely we'll have money to do everything that we want to do within specific projects. So just encouraging anybody, any information that you have on the budget that you would like to send, please send both to Leslie and myself at the two email addresses that are shown here. And our goal, again, is to present the budget to the board by December 7th. And the unfortunate truth is that it's really easy to change the budget right now because we're in a working mode, but once it is actually approved, it is difficult to make any substantial changes, and you'll pretty much have to wait another year. So please do get your wishes down on paper, or on email anyway. And the next meeting is Monday, October 19th at 6 o'clock, and I will look like a pirate that day because I'm having some eye surgery, but no big deal, and I'll look forward to seeing all of you who can join us then. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. And I just want to add, too, with when we first found out about what COVID was, there was a lot of nervousness about what it could mean to revenues, and we are seeing some impact from that, and one of the more recent ones is there's a small spike in the uncollectibles, nothing big, but that was one of the things we worried about. We weren't sure, but overall the revenues are very close to what was budgeted, which is a good thing, and yet expenses are being managed in a way to be even under budget more than revenues are under budget. So that's a good thing, but I just wanted to mention that was a concern from the very beginning, and it's showing a little bit, but nowhere near what we thought it might. So thank you, Charlie, for your report. Next up is bylaws with Lori.
Our next meeting is Wednesday, October 14th at 6:30 here in the lodge. We've been working on the rental policy, and we have some motions ready to come to the board, and we're going to finish up on the rental policy, and we'll have all our motions ready for the October board meeting.
Any questions on bylaws? All right, ECC, is that Ron or Daryl? Ron, thank you. I don't know if the mic's on up there, Ron.
Okay, yeah. All right, ECC committee, we've been working, as you know, we've been working on three committee goals. The working group for trees has come up with a scope statement that we're going to be reviewing at the next meeting for content. Assuming that goes well going forward, we expect to drill down into how best to measure and manage that scope. Compliance Committee has developed a Neighbors Helping Neighbors initiative, and that there will be an announcement hopefully in the next Chronicle. The Document Consolidation Committee or Working Group has obtained the most recent versions of the three types of compliance documents, and they're trying to organize those into a coherent single page or single document group. Had a discussion on closing a loophole in the fine section of the fees and fines schedule regarding a non-compliance. Proposal has been made to the board. A question was asked by at the last board meeting whether there's tree cutting in Unit 11 had a permit, and the answer is yes, it did. In the course of investigating that, we did find some procedural issues that we are moving to address. From a permit standpoint, we had 16 during the period from the last board meeting, half of which were trees, and the rest were color, shed, roof overs, excavation, and pet runs. And as a reminder, for this timely period of time, per board policy 10-162-02, political signs may be placed in private property and may not exceed 6 square feet. Signs may be placed no sooner than 30 days prior to the election and must be removed no later than 3 days. Per the ECC manual, no charge permit is required for placement of a political sign. And the next meeting for ECC is October 6th, 6:30, right here.
Thank you. Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. I think Lake and Silt is up next. Gary?
Lake and Siltation Committee, the last board meeting, presented our 2020 priorities, and I just wanted to remind everybody what they were. They were sediment ponds at the one-lane bridge, kayak launches, and a dock at the beach area, riprap review, and other lake maintenance such as a check dam repair or aeration project. And for this meeting, I plan on updating you on some of our priority items. As you can see, the committee has gathered a list of the components needed to place 2 kayak launches, one at the north dock, where you have a picture of the kayak launch. The first picture is very nice, and one would be placed at the south dock. They show a picture of the south dock, and one would be placed at the north dock. We've, again, listed, determined what the components are, and we are going to place them on order, and we think that the cost of the launches, the components, and the installation for those will be approximately $2,700, which really isn't too bad for what benefit the members can get from these launches. And that's a picture of the north dock right there where the kayak launch is proposed to be in. The committee itself, our top priority was to the siltation pond at the one-lane bridge, and the committee met on 9/1 with Doug and Nate to talk about our plan for the launches, or for the siltation pond. And the first plan was that there's about 8 to 10 feet of silt that had gathered behind the check dam there at the one-lane bridge, and we're going to dig that out so that the water will go through the check dam instead of over the top of it, which we get a lot of the silt and the mud coming from that. So that is being done, and we're going to propose putting some larger rock behind that in order to help with the siltation plus waiting on that. We are planning on building one siltation pond, which is about 50 yards behind the check dam there. And the plan there is for the dam, or for the pond, to be about 30 by 30 and anywhere from 20 to 25 feet deep in order to slow down the water.
That's the slide.
Yeah, you can, yeah, that's a picture of the project, because actually the project started for that. We had, I think, 6 to 8 trees that we determined we needed to remove in order to have room for a a road that we need there to not only build the pond, but in order to maintain it in the future. And so we're clearing those trees, and that's been done. I didn't know until we got down there that that area is actually fed from 3 different directions. I didn't know that there was 3 feeds that goes into the 1-lane bridge for doing that. So the project, like I said, has started. You can see the work being done. The road that we propose putting on there is going to be about 200 feet long, and one of the members of the Lake Siltation Committee had some, I don't know what to call it, the part or the technical things that will hold the gravel in place, and he's donating that to the project for doing that. That's Rob Turner. So we very much appreciate that as well. As part of this project, we're also going to remove all the brush and old logs and old railroad ties and things that has been part of there to help clean up the area. Nate and Steve, when we was down there, talked about it and talked about everything that's going to be done, and we have a budget of about $20,000 to do that siltation pond, and they was very confident that we could do this whole project and stay within budget, and that'll be a big thing to do that. And Steve and Nate said that they probably start mid-September, and if you drive by, you know they've already started, and they've actually made some pretty good progress. I don't know if that's the back of the siltation or the check dam there, and you can see how far up it is, that when the water comes, instead of going through and filtering, it was just always going over the top. So that is a big area, or going to be a big improvement for that. I will mention that beside the kayaks, we do have almost finished a dock at the beach area that is there, and it has room for 2 boats to dock right there between the beach and the pavilion. And it's very nice. It's in the T shape. You can have a boat on each side to come up, and that'll be another big benefit for the members. And I think that's, other than our next meeting is scheduled for October 13th here in the lodge at 6:30 for that. Any of the board have any questions?
There's a couple, Greg, on here. Do you want me to read the comments for ECC? Okay, I'm just reading them here as they come in. ECC, no, I'm not quite sure what this means. Sean Parks, no permits in drainage in until 4 tile work. I can't quite make out what that means. Does that make sense to you?
No, you know what
Anybody?
that is, Ed?
Unit 4 tile work. Not so. Sean Parks, not sure. We can't clarify exactly what you're saying there. And then there's Cheryl Buchanan, Unit 3, Lot 153. Why are there political signs in yards when, according to the sign permits, none can be displayed until 30 days prior to the election? I think somebody just read that one a little bit ago. So just 2 comments that are based on what we're talking about. No, I'm sorry. I was rewinding and realized that we missed these while we were on.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we're addressing, Doug, you've been addressing some of those political sign issues already, correct?
Yeah, I would let you know that security has taken multiple signs down almost on a daily basis. I think talking to Ben Fike over last week, on any given day, he probably had 20 or more taken off the properties, and what they would normally do is knock on the door and ask them to keep those political signs off the property and so forth until 30 days before. And if they can't answer the door or anything like that, then they've brought the signs back into the office, and a note has been left on the door indicating they can pick them up at their convenience at the office.
Thank you. Any others?
Yeah, there are others, but none pertaining specifically to the committee, so we'll hold those for member participation.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you, Gary, for the lake report. Glad to see the work on the check dam there at the one-lane bridge. That's going to make a huge difference. So thanks to the committee on that. Long-range planning is next. John McFarland.
With long-range planning, Greg touched on a little bit with Unit 4. We are meeting this Thursday to go over the drawing that Bill Schubert put together. We also are dealing with the rustic campground. Daryl brought a contractor over. We met last Thursday and waiting to get pricing on that for this time. Our next meeting is going to be on October 12th, 6:30 at Harmon Lodge.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and take a question as it relates to what you just mentioned from early on. It's, let's see, it is from Catherine Link, Unit 4, Lot 331. The question is, I hear you are wanting to open the rustic campground. Why should this not be put to a member vote? And actually, Catherine, there's that work group that John McFarland mentioned is actually looking at that very thing. It is closed now, as we know, and they're looking at that very thing, looking at whether it's still viable, whether the strategy makes sense, looking at costs, revenues, projections, given everything that's changed, and they have not come to a conclusion yet on that. And as to whether it's a member vote or not, that's an open question as well that we're evaluating, but we want to get that report back first, and from that work group through long range, and then we'll take it from there. So thanks for your question. Okay, Security Committee, Lori?
Our next meeting is Thursday, October 15th, here at the lodge. And we all know there's a problem with people deliberately breaking gates. So we're going to be working on fines for that. And there are cameras that can see who comes in and out those gates, but they are improving the technology, so we'll be able to better that.
Thank you, Lori.
And Greg, there's on security, since we're on security, there's one from Sean Parks as well, just asking for a security update in general, employment, training, hiring, patrols. I don't know if you want to give a quick update on that while we're on it.
There is going to be some significant changes in security, procedures, training, the whole 9 yards beginning on Monday with a new director of security coming in. And the hiring of 2 additional security members. So we're going to hit the ground running on Monday, and we'll be looking at some significant changes in the future.
Okay, thanks. And Lori, I don't know if your mic's working. A number of them can't hear you, so maybe just make sure when you do talk, hold close. There, a couple people are asking. Good, Greg, back to you.
I have one question. In regards to, Lori, you said the cameras at the gates. Have we caught any of the violators of the broken gates this year? Like, have people been fined or whatever in our current procedure, let alone the new procedure? Do you know?
Yes, we have caught several from our security cameras and so forth. Security's done a great job with looking at the various ones that have been broken, and we have fined them, and we've actually proceeded legally with several of them also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that answer.
And I think what we're looking at, there's been some where we have caught, but the resolution on others are like, can't quite tell. So I know that's one thing Doug and the new team is going to look at is the resolution of those cameras and the angles, whatnot.
Has any consideration been given to when a gate is broken, putting concrete barrels or something and closing that gate and having those people having to use a different gate until it is repaired? That might, I know that was brought up at an earlier security committee meeting as a possible deterrent, because then it wouldn't be open for people to come through, and
I guess that would be quite the inconvenience for all the other people that
improve security.
didn't break the gate, but yeah.
But you have emergency vehicles going in and out those gates sometimes, and I think that would not be a good idea.
Okay, utilities, Kevin?
My remarks are going to be in three areas of completed work, work in progress, and kind of long-term. Completed, staff and our outside consultant completed a 40-item assessment of our infrastructure for water and sewer, and I can report that generally it was all very high scores, very positive. A couple minor areas that need addressed and will be addressed in 21 budgeting. We've prepared for the Chronicle for communication to the membership 3 different articles that are yet to be printed. One on wastewater backflow prevention, one on how to read a Candlewood Lake water meter bill, and questions and answers about grinder cans out in the yards. We've also completed an inventory of properties that are sharing sewer grinders. I want to thank Tracy and Mike for going around and tabulating that information. They found 215 properties with shared grinders. If we were to put everybody on their own, it would be an additional 121 additional grinders that are necessary. We also, through Luke Murray's effort, Luke is a civil engineer, he gathered some information on the possibility of doing alternative energy production to power utility buildings, and unfortunately, in his professional judgment and calculations, there's not a viable return on investment at this time unless that technology improves. The next slide, please. This should be in progress. I think maybe you're one ahead. In progress, we're still working with the administration to determine the answers to the questions about excess water bills that have cropped up in the last couple quarters. We've been working with Armstrong in terms of the viability of Wi-Fi service in Unit 4. We were supposed to have a meeting with them today. That kind of didn't work out from their end. I would also say that there's a lot of unanswered questions about how likely that is to happen, but the door's not closed yet entirely on Unit 4 Wi-Fi possibilities. Lonnie McGee of our outside consulting staff reports that about 95% completion on the chemical feed tank and line rehabs. We're seeking additional quotes for replacement of sewer treatment media, which was supposed to be in 2020, but is being pushed to the 21 budget. We're determining the currency of the consulting services contract we have with McGee Water Technical Services. We feel as though that should at least be looked at and see if it needs to be updated. Staff reported that they had repaired approximately 23 grinder stations that were repaired, replaced, or installed year to date, which is somewhat below the projection on the expectation of 60 through the year. So maybe we'll have an accurate number as the year goes on and adjust budgeting accordingly going forward. They also reported a couple water breaks and sewer breaks. The sewer breaks were minor in nature. They were at joints. They weren't in the middle of a pipeline. But nevertheless, an inconvenience for those homeowners that were without service for a while. The last slide is long-term. Excuse me. And I know Charlie's committee, finance committee, is looking at an overall reserve study. We have some recommendations for segregating water and sewer from a part of overall Candlewood reserves. We've also discussed the need for having a professional opinion as to the value of cleaning and inspecting our sewer lines that are 40+ years old. And we're looking to have an open house at Utilities facility sometime in 21, and our next meeting is October 12th at the Harmon Lodge.
I've got a quick question. If it's been working so far for properties to share a sewer grinder, why separate them? I mean, why go to that expense?
We weren't necessarily recommending it. We wanted to find out what the impact would be they have been working. The only time it's a problem, from what I understand, is if there's a power failure or if one of the property owners leaves, they don't know that the sewage is backing up into their home. So that fundamentally is the issue, as I understand it this time, Charlie.
Any idea what dividing a grinder would cost, so you'd have two instead of the one?
I think the average cost, as I recall, for any grinder installation is about $7,000. I could be off, but it's certainly up there.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
And next, we're going to our ad hoc committees now. First is maintenance with Jim.
Excuse me. Our next meeting is October 14th at the Lodge. And as the slide indicates, there are a number of things that are going on. The road chip, there's been 3 miles of chip and seal done so far. The front entrance sign is almost done. We think it will be done by next month. We're proposing a new utility building at the north dock, and it's not it's a 8 by 10 storage building for the storage of the forms for the pontoon boats when they're docked. The spillway maintenance, I think we've already heard from them. On the next slide, Unit 4, 2/3 of the roads have been chipped and sealed. The abandoned properties have been cleaned up in Unit 4, and 2 more to be completed in October. And foreclosure filings will be initiated against 15 properties in October. 11 are in Unit 4, and 4 are located in various units in Candlewood. And again, our next meeting is October 14th at 4 p.m. here in the Lodge.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Any questions on maintenance?
Yeah, I got one, Jim. As far as the new utility building at the North Dock, can you please ensure that once you guys decide what it is that you're going to do, that you can run that through the ECC committee? It was actually a topic at the last meeting where, we want to make sure that all structures, whether association structures or private structures, adhere with the ECC rules. So if you guys can just make sure when you land on what you want to do there, that you run that through the ECC committee to make sure it complies with all the ECC regulations.
Certainly. Nate Wilson's working on that, so I'll make sure he's aware of that.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin, just if I could rewind back, we had a few come in on utilities. It was around the survey for Unit 4. How do they get a hold of that? Some people haven't seen the survey. Did that go out?
Yeah, the survey, to my knowledge, has not been distributed.
Okay. It has not gone out yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
My understanding is that there aren't enough email addresses on hand for Unit 4 residents to do an email survey, so they were going to do a print and hand distributed. The issue is getting the responses back.
Yeah.
Are the homeowners, property owners going to deliver them, or are they going to be picked up?
Gotcha. Okay, so the answer on the Unit 4 is we're still trying to figure out how we're going to do that.
Yeah,
right?
and it's 2 questions, so it's not a complicated survey.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, would that be something that could be left with a empty slot and a drop box at the lodge? I mean, it's a very central area, open to the members there. I mean, that could be done very quickly, right?
Why don't Leslie or Doug, do you guys have a comment on what your plan is with that survey?
I think what we've been doing, Renee, on Tuesdays and Thursdays has been going through the roster, calling the Unit 4 members, obtaining email addresses. And I think we're about 50%.
Okay.
So the goal is to have the survey ready for October 15th.
Okay, so what the office is doing is going through the Unit 4 name and phone numbers, calling them to get email addresses, and then the survey will be distributed via email, it sounds like. Does that sound right? Yes. Okay. Cool.
Is that it?
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
So anyone in Unit 4 listening that we don't have your email address, go ahead and call the office and save them a call. By October 15th. Yes, thank you. Okay, good.
Anything on roads and culverts, Ned? No. Pool committee, I think, is next month. Is that right? Community events, I think, has something. Jim?
Yes, we do. The next meeting for community events will be October 6th at 7 p.m. at the Lodge. And what's in front of you now is the information on Trunk or Treat, which is scheduled for November 1st from 1 to 3 at Harmon Lodge, and the Chronicle will have more details. It'll start at 1, and we're going to have social distancing with cards and the kids. We want everybody to wear masks and gloves if they're handing out the candy. On November 3rd will be the next community events meeting, again at 7 p.m. at the Lodge. And the next event is the Honoring Our Vets, which is scheduled for 1 to 3 p.m. on Sunday, November 8th. We want you to join us in the drive-through celebration starting at the office parking lot. November 8th is Veterans Day, and again, that's the drive-through. We're having a new activity called Food Collection for the Edison Enterprise Baptist Church Food Pantry. Drop-off box will be in the lobby at the main office. It's starting in mid-October, and we'll run through the beginning of December. Watch for the Chronicle for more information. And again, the first meeting is October 6th, and then in November, it's on November 3rd. And we're welcoming any and all new members. Thanks.
Jim, could you clarify how we can participate in the Honoring Our Veterans? I mean, are we supposed to drive through, or are the
Yes.
veterans going to stand on the side and we applaud
No,
them, or how
there'll be
does it
pictures
work?
of the veterans
Oh, okay, thank you.
through the drive, along the road. So no, it's just a drive-through.
Thank you, Jim. Next slide. All right, is anybody handling the fishing and boating? Anybody doing that one? I'll go ahead and do it then. So October 16th is the evening bass tournament, still being planned. 5 o'clock registration. Start time 5:30, weigh in at 9:30 p.m. at the Harmon Lodge. Cost is $20 for fishing and boating club members, $25 for all others. Payouts for first, second, third, and the largest single bass by weight, 12-inch minimum length, and a 5 bass limit. So that's that from fishing and boating. And now, I do know, if anyone has the dates, there was a pontoon pull dates. I don't have those in front of me, but I know Bill wanted me to mention that the Fishing and Boating Club is doing their normal thing, which is helping out with taking boats out this year. Does anybody, Lori, do you know any details on that, or we can get those out? Okay. Is the start? Okay, and I think they wanted that in the Chronicle. I'm not sure if that's too late, Doug or Leslie, to get these tournaments and the pontoon pull information out there. If not, we can do mass email as well. Okay. All right, before we go to new business, I'm going to handle one question that happens to be the first item of new business. So let's see. Lori Armstrong, and I don't see a unit lot number. Yeah, Unit 4, Lot 368. Did the board fill Bill Grubb's board seat? And that actually is the first item of new business that we'll handle here right now, actually. So thank you for that question. New business. First order of new business is a motion to replace the open board position with the candidate with the next highest majority vote from the May 2020 election. That individual is Kevin McCrae with a term expiring May of 2022. Anybody want to make that move? That's Jim. Who was the second? Ned? Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Thank you. Kevin, if you want to come up here and join us, and congratulations to you, Kevin. Appreciate your willingness to serve. Okay. Good deal. Second motion is a resignation from a committee. Is the motion to accept the resignation of Les Rennie from the Maintenance Committee? Do I have a motion? Jonathan? Second? Kevin? No discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, the third item of new business, and I'll, once we get, if we do move the motion, I'll ask Ron and or Daryl to chime in on this one. But the motion is to add to the ECC fines and fee schedule, which I believe was passed at one of the last two meetings, maybe the 2 meetings ago at Northmore, I believe. That the fines will reoccur every 60 days until the violation is corrected. So do I have a motion? Make the motion. Thank you, Daryl. Second, Charlie. Okay, do one of you guys want to maybe talk about this for a second?
Yeah, I'll speak to it. What we found is the fine and fee schedule is good. We like that. But the problem is we don't want people just paying their way out of violations. And so violations, most of the violations, in fact, all the violations have like a one-term or a one-time fine associated with it. The problem is if, like, say, a member didn't want to bring their property within compliance, they could pay the fine and then leave the violation. So what we want to add to the bottom of that is the fine and fee schedule will remain as it is. And what we've determined is if the member doesn't make any move to correct the violation, we could then re-levy the fine every 60 days and repeat that. So essentially the member just can't pay their way out of a violation. So that's the principle behind this. We think it's fair to give them 60 days, and obviously if they had an extenuating circumstance, they could go to the ECC. And, as long as they're making progress towards remediating and correcting the violation, I believe the ECC would allow them a longer period of time after their initial fine, but we didn't want people essentially paying their way out of a violation.
Question, Daryl. In our fee schedule, it has a maximum fine. Are we going to take that away?
Well, the ones that do recur, those would do, like doubles, triples, or whatever, like as far as like violations within a year, like different violations. But we're talking the same violation, like, so for instance, a color violation, if you didn't correct it after 60 days, the fine would recur. So it'd be the same fine recurring every 60 days.
Okay, and then 504.1 says that the ECC committee can give a $5 per day up to a maximum of $25 per day fine. How are you going to handle that?
I'd have to look at that one. It's in what?
It's on the ECC on page 31.
ECC page 30. I have to look at that one. Give me a little bit, man. Sure. I think that's for a fine that isn't covered up here in the schedule. So if there was some other violation that there wasn't a fine created for, the ECC can generate a fine to this extent. But we're talking about like all of the fine schedules. So unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that in here. I have another copy. It's not yet in this book. But the fine schedules that we have are basically relate to permits. That's the ones that we're addressing. So this would be independent of that, Ned.
Okay, you don't think we need to change the maximum fine then? I mean, how does that affect that? I mean,
no, I don't.
Maximum and then that's it?
Well, so the maximum fine is related to like number of occurrences inside of a year. So like say for instance they painted their shed white and then they did the wrong color with the house. That would be that would be like a double fine, for example, like when you speed more than once, right? The intent of this is the recurring, so it would never hit the maximum per se, unless that person had a multitude of fines, hit the maximum fine, and then every 6 months the maximum fine would recur.
Okay, but do we need to clarify that in writing somewhere? Because we're making a lot of assumptions that the next board may not make, or the next DCC committee. Because it basically says maximum applicable fine, period.
I guess I would be happy for a motion to modify, but we felt it was adequate at the bottom of the fine schedule to recur every 60 days. So I'd be happy to entertain a motion to change it, but we felt that was adequate based on our assessment at the meeting.
Any other comments on that or other questions? Okay, we have a motion, we have a second on it. So again, the motion is to add to the ECC fines and fee schedule that fines will recur every 60 days until the violation is corrected. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, it passes. Okay, the next piece of new business is a motion from Long Range Planning Committee to approve the Mount Tabor Trail Conservation Project as outlined in the document so named, dated August of 2020. And we have both Tom Baldozer and, if needed, John McFarland here will talk about that if we have a move and a second on this particular motion to give you a little flavor on it. And the board members do have the hard copies in front of them on it. So do we have a motion?
Also move.
That's Lori. And a second? Charlie? Okay, Tom. Tom Baldozer is the head of the work group that worked under the long range planning for quite some time now on this. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom for a brief explanation on this.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Thank you, Candlewood Lake board members, guests, and members on YouTube. Tonight, I'm going to share with you an overview on our work group's proposal. Do you have the slides, sir? Okay. Okay, I'm going to start while he's pulling up those slides. And the Mount Tabor Trail proposal encompasses nature, education, and wellness for all Candlewood Lake Association members and their families. We are promoting hiking, biking, jogging, cross-country skiing, and nature watching activities. All would be encouraged in the area. Our Mount Tabor Trail Work Group has identified that our proposal would be an integral part of the Candlewood Lake Association vision, specifically as stated in bylaws, Articles 1, Section 1 and 2. The proposal would not require any cash outlays from the Candlewood Lake Association. We have pledged donations that are available for purchasing of native plants, trees, displays of nature, benches, and that type of thing. The Mount Tabor Trail proposal would not alter any platted lots in the area and would not make any changes to the land or to the roads, but would conserve and restore almost a 1 mile area of Unit 10 to a more natural state. Motorized vehicles would not be permitted on Mount Tabor Trail to ensure a safe environment for all Candlewood Lake members. A parking lot area would be provided at the south end of Mount Tabor for people to park their vehicles in a safe environment. I would like to stress to you that this Mount Tabor Trail would provide for a area that members could walk, hike, bike, cross-country ski, etc., in a very safe environment off of Candlewood Lake Drive, where, as you know, we do have some large vehicles that from time to time can be traveling at a high rate of speed. And finally, our proposal would provide for enhanced native pollinators in the environment, and as well as bird boxes, bat boxes. A little shout out to Zoe Montag and her bat boxes. We're going to try to get a couple of those up over there for her. All part of preserving and conserving nature in that area. Okay, to conclude, our proposal would provide a systematic approach of projects to provide a natural area for all Candlewood Lake members and their families to enjoy now and into the future. Our proposal has been approved unanimously by the Long Range Planning Committee, and our work group respectfully requests that the Candlewood Lake Board of Directors provide an affirmative vote to our proposal. Thank you all. And I would also like to take the time now to thank the Long Range Planning Committee and their members for their support. I'd like to thank the Mount Tabor Trail Work Group and their members for all of their support and hard work. And we will be grateful for your affirmative vote. Thank you.
I'll just add something as well, that Tom mentioned long-range planning. It actually went through two long-range planning committees, the one from prior to the May reorg, and it passed through that one several months before unanimously, as well as the new one, and they were substantially different committees. Quite a bit of turnover in there, so that's one thing. And really interesting artifact, if you will, going back in time. And if I get bored, I read really old stuff, but I actually read some minutes from 2002 of some Candlewood meetings, and the author was none other than George Harmon. And in his minutes, he listed a list of things, and the long-range planning at the time was coming up with a list of things that could enhance the benefit of Candlewood Lake to new members and attract new people. And he had a whole lot of things, and one of the bullet points in there was a walking, hiking, cross-country skiing, biking, walking trail in Unit 10, quote unquote. And I found that really interesting. I called Tom right away and told him about it, and just very interesting that our founder would have had that foresight back then. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay, at this time, Greg, if the board has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Tom?
I have one, and I believe it went to a board vote with the previous board, but it says remaining lots in Unit 10 will not be subject to residential development given lack of water. Functionally speaking, what is long-range planning intending to do with that language? Are we going to change the classification, the tax classification of the land? Are we going to write a deed restriction? Like, what's the thought and principle behind that specifically?
Well, Daryl, I think I'll defer to John, but I will mention that I believe the areas of Unit 10 have been, the deeds, the restrictions have been changed to green space, but I'll let John confirm that.
Yeah, that's actually true. That was the design back when we realized that Candlewood has a ton of lots for sale beyond our capacity to grow, really, and much more desirable versus this particular area. So most of those, if not all, there's probably a few left that haven't been converted to green. I'm not sure, Leslie, but I think most of those have been converted. That was part of the plan, and so that would take care of that. And again, the reason being is that particular area not being as desirable, but also the lack of infrastructure in total to support any future growth.
Okay, and I would just say, even then, I think and correct me if I'm wrong, it was a board vote that that made that change, correct, Craig?
I can't say that 100%. I don't recall if that was a board vote.
That was a board vote in December of 2018, yes.
Thank you.
I guess that's my concern is if I'm looking through the deed restrictions, that probably should have gone to that should have gone to a member vote to change the use of that land. But that's, I guess, one problem I have, right? The association can make a choice to not sell those and to not market those, but to change the use of that land, that's the members' decision to do that and not the board's. So that's my concern with this. I don't want to continue to. I like the project. I like the motivation. I like the member donations and the participation. I like all of that. I just want to try to make sure that we're doing right by the members is all, because I do know there's, the previous use of the land was, slated for ATV and vehicle use at some point. That was voted out by the board, which that was a policy, which that is within the board scope. But I do know there's people, asking those questions, right? Like when do I get my voice as to the use of that particular land?
Well, I think if you look at purposes and powers under, I think it's Article 2, Section 1, and also powers under Section 2. That's where we believe it does grant the association the ability to convert and do what we're doing with the Mount Tabor Trail, at least what we're proposing. So as far as the voice goes, it's probably been one of the more, I guess, transparent initiatives that we've had. In fact, it's gone over 8 months, something like that, I think, and there's been multiple meetings. There's been information in the Chronicle. There's been email blasts, mass emails, and open long-range meetings. And then we've actually had it almost come to the board, and the board did get an update. So there's been so much activity in terms of update, lots of opportunity for member feedback. And I guess I would just call it a sprinkling, is what we've heard of, some people interested in the four-wheelers primarily, but it was just a sprinkling of that. And as we know right now, there's current board policies on the books that prohibit the four-wheelers other than on the main roads of Candlewood right now. So I hear what you're saying, but I think we're well within the boundaries here. So.
So what are we doing with our current walking trail? Like, are we maintaining that properly?
I'm not involved in that walking trail, sir.
Does anyone know?
Yeah, by the silence, I would say that's kind of more of an association. It's going to have to be more of an association endeavor, and I agree. That came up once before, and I said, you know what, we've got a second walking trail, or an initial one that's clear on the other side of Candlewood, and it's completely different than Mount Tabor. But if it's a Candlewood asset, it should be maintained. I think the association should have the responsibility there. If we do a lot of things where members pick up the mantle and do things in the flower beds and all around Candlewood, and Mount Tabor is a great example where the money's being put up 100% to cover the expense. But I don't think we should neglect the other one as well. So that's something that I think we should have the association pay attention to and do what's needed back there to get it groomed. And I mean, it's more natural. It's the trees are there and those kind of things, but the actual path needs to be established from time to time in a little better condition. So that's probably the best answer I can come up with now.
And Mr. Klug, I do want to also point out that the wooded trail requires more maintenance due to its, logistics. Mount Tabor Trail is more of an open area. There would be much less updating and maintenance to it. But that's a good question, sir. Any further questions?
Well, I think at least as I read it, the intent is to return it to a natural state and actually allow it to mature in its natural state, correct?
That is correct. Removing invasive species, that type of thing, and let it and let it go back to what it would normally have been without the invasives. Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. The motion was from Long Range Planning to approve the Mount Tabor Trail Conservation Project as outlined in the document so named August 2020.
So I guess I just wanted to clarify what Daryl was asking then. So are you saying that it should be a member vote or it should not be?
From my position, if we're going to change the use of Unit 10, it should be a member vote. That's my position on it. But and I know, to Greg's point, there has been a peppering, and multiple members have had voiced their opinion to me, and at different times during different meetings. But I just don't know if that's the majority vote or the minority vote, right? We don't know that until we poll the members. So that was kind of my position on that. I like the project. I like that we're doing something with it. And then, I've got comments on the next motion as far as, we used to provide an area for ATVs and now we don't. So, do we have a plan, or do we want to try to formulate something for those in the future? Maybe even somewhere else.
So it's not dictated though that this must be based on. I understand your view and a lot of people. I'm just trying to understand specifically is to change the use of land and required to have a member vote.
Right, and I was looking through the deed restrictions. It's in the deed restrictions. I was trying to find a specific one. I don't have it on the tip of my tongue right now.
Got it.
I would think if we were going to change.
I'm just asking. I just want to make sure we're not bypassing anything that we should be doing. That's all.
Well, I would think if we were going to change green space to private space, that we would want to be sure and get member approval before we did that. But to take undevelopable private, land designated as private space that we have identified that we cannot develop privately, I would not think we would need approval to. I don't think it's an insult to the membership to turn that into basically a green space project.
I think it's two separate things, as Daryl's mentioning. The conversion to green space is one thing. The Mount Tabor Trail project, setting that one aside for a moment, is not changing any of the, as Tom pointed out, it's not changing the plats, it's not disrupting any of the rest of the lots. It's right across that Mount Tabor Trail only. So two different points, really. I don't know, George, do you have any comments on Daryl's point about member vote on green space conversion?
You can have the members vote on whatever you want. Do you think it's necessary? It's not going to be a deed restriction because I just checked with what I thought I remembered, and it appears that all of those are already green space. If you look at the definition of green space, it allows the association to basically use it for recreational purposes and things like that. So anything the members that have, basically if they wanted to have some input in it, they've already had input in it, they've left it to the board to decide how they want to use it for those recreational purposes. So while Daryl and I agree on a lot of things, I don't think member vote is required, but that's up to you guys if you think you probably should have one.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, I would just, it sounds like you had some detractors who were for the ATVs and things of that nature. So any issue we have in Candlewood Lake, we're going to have people on both sides of the coin. So I think we just kind of need to make a decision in general. How are we going to handle that? And we should be consistent with all of our topics. Do we go to member vote? Do we not? What do we do? So I just suggest that we handle this the way we handle anything else that we plan to do, that we have people on both sides of the equation for.
Yeah. Okay. Any other? Tom, do you have another comment?
Yeah, I would like to say one thing regarding this area. There's approximately 60 acres of land back in Unit 10 there. Mount Tabor Trail covers 7/10 of an acre, 7/10 of a mile in just a road path. It's like less than 5% of that total 60 acres. So as far as taking over the area, our program, our proposal is focused on Mount Tabor Trail, 7/10 of a mile trail. There's opportunity there for other things, such as a dog park. You've talked about some ATV situations. We're not, this proposal is not covering that full 60 acres. I want to make that very clear. And to a listener on the web's point about maintenance of the Mount Tabor Trail falling back on Candlewood, Mount Tabor Trail was neglected. It's been neglected for about 15 years, and that's why the invasives have taken over and overgrown it. Volunteers have taken it upon themselves to clean the trail, and if you walk it today, it's much better than it was 2 years ago. And as far as maintenance goes, maintenance again is going to be minimal, and it would not fall on Candlewood Lake Association as such. That's our proposal, that we have volunteers that are doing the work. We're not expecting Candlewood Lake to do the work. I want to clarify that.
Okay. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you all.
Okay, so I've read the motion a second time there. Go ahead and vote. All those in favor of approving the Mount Tabor Trail project signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? 2 abstain. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. The last piece of new business, unless we have, nope, I'm sorry, there's one more after on the next page. But the last piece on this page is also a motion from the Long Range Planning Committee, and this kind of dovetails with the Mount Tabor project, is to prohibit all motorized vehicles from Mount Tabor Trail in Unit 10, with the exception of emergency vehicles and Candlewood Lake-owned vehicles for maintenance and security purposes. And that's kind of the purpose of this one, was kind of to clarify that last statement about the maintenance vehicles and emergency vehicles, what have you. Do I have a motion? Jim? Is there a second? Lori? Okay. Any discussion on this? Again, it was, I can speak to it unless, Tom, you want to jump in there, but it's just to clarify what's already in the plan, is that the nature of the trail is the walking, hiking, biking, cross-country skiing, all of that, and the motorized vehicles have been kind of tearing that up for quite some time now, and it just would not mesh well with that. So I think some discussion that was pointed out earlier, might be some good discussion to have about, are there other places in Candlewood that Long Range can look at? I mean, that's an absolutely fine, piece of discussion there, but that's all this is intended to do, is to clarify it, and part of the plan, and then include that Candlewood vehicles for maintenance and EMS type vehicles are permitted back in there.
I think, Tom, you said that's just the road proper, right? Mount Tabor Trail, the road proper, and the immediate area surrounding, correct? We're not talking about like Unit 10 in its entirety.
That is correct.
That's already, there's already board policies that cover, common and green space, but that's it.
Right. No, I agree with that. I just wanted to make sure that, the scope of this is just we'll call it the road and its surrounding area of Mount Tabor Trail.
Correct.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. One abstain. Okay, thank you. All right, the last piece of new business, unless we have something from the floor, is, and this is from the Finance Committee, so I'll have Charlie will talk on this one. It's a motion from the Finance Committee to repurpose $25,000 from the reserve fund that was designated for the Ferris mower replacement to the purchase of an all-purpose dump truck. First, I'll need a motion. Jonathan?
I'll second.
Second, Charlie. You want to kind of
Sure.
explain this one?
In the budget this year, there was $25,000 to replace a mower, which has since been identified as being reparable, and in fact, it was repaired by Nate. So not that we have to spend every penny that's in the budget, but we have been pitifully shorthanded in terms of snow plows and also in terms of some kind of transportation to move some of the debris around the development. And Nate has found a used vehicle in excellent condition that is a dump truck with a blade in front of it for snow plowing, so it's a vehicle that would be used all year round. He's able to get it for in the $25,000 range, so it in fact would just be a simple conversion of one maintenance item to a different maintenance item, and if they don't act quickly on it, it will not be available, so it can't wait till the next budget year. So I'm hoping you'll support that because it's something that we actually need, and this is a good deal. So, thank you.
Any questions from the board?
You said the 25,000 was the money, like the dollars are the same, right? Dollar for dollar. Okay, thank you.
Do we know the specifications, you, Doug, of the dump truck? I'm thinking in terms of like lake and siltation, if it could be used to constantly clean out the.
Yes, it's a vehicle that can have multiple applications and used in various endeavors, and I think Nate's done a tremendous job in trying to find something to meet our needs. And this was something that we had talked about before that will definitely be beneficial to us in the wintertime and for daily operations 365.
Any other questions? Okay, so the motion's from Finance to repurpose the $25,000 dollar for dollar from the reserve fund for the Ferris mower replacement for the purchase of an all-purpose dump truck. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you.
I do have one more bit of new business.
Okay.
Actually, I'm trying to decide if I'm going crazy, but we didn't discuss the resignation of Patty Love, did we, from Long Range Planning? Because they've moved out of the community, and
We did not tonight.
have we moved on it before to accept that?
I cannot remember.
I don't think we
honestly
did,
don't remember.
so. Okay, well, unfortunately, we now need to take her out, so.
Yeah, Tom's on some committees as well.
So, can we somehow just make that kind of a general motion, and that any committees that, but can I make it so that any committees that Patty Love or Tom Love are on, that they would be resigned from those committees?
Yeah, do we know those committees? It'd be better to name them, but
Bylaws.
yeah.
That is bylaws.
Okay.
And she's on Long Range Planning, I know, and I don't know about Tom.
Are you thinking, Greg, it might be better for next meeting to handle that?
Yeah, I'm thinking so we get it all correct, technical. It's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
Are you okay with that? Yeah, okay.
It's good to put it on the books. We put them on with the motion and take them off with the motion.
We'll get it straight as to the committees then. So, any other business before we go into member participation?
Yeah, I got a question for Doug. Are we going to do leaf pickup for the members this year?
Yes, that's going to be scheduled. Yes, we will have that scheduled and so forth, and that will be out in the Chronicle. I believe it's going to be a $75 fee or so to have that leaf pickup, and it will be out in the Chronicle. The Chronicle will be coming out very soon.
Okay, I'd also like to remind everyone that October and November from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is no open burning. Can you put that in the Chronicle as well, if it's not too late?
So what were those dates again? No open burning?
No open burning the month of October and November from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's not campfires, but open burning of leaves
Yeah.
and brush.
Okay. Anything else? Let's go to the member participation.
Yeah, I've got a list here I've been keeping, Greg, so I'll just start and then we can get to a bunch that I haven't been able to keep up with. The first one, I believe, is going to be for the office here. It's from Debbie Partlow, 1169. Why is the office not open all week?
That will be Doug.
That is something that we have been addressing and so forth, and those changes, if indeed we're going to implement those, will be coming in the near future. We're working very closely with the Morrow County Health Department and recommendations from the Ohio Association of Lake memberships too.
Okay, thank you. Next one from Bob Meekins, Unit 4, Lot 7. Once the docks at the beach are done, should we stop fishing from the pavilion and allow it from the new dock only? I don't know who that's to. It's a suggestion, I guess he's making something.
It sounds like it. If you've got docks down there and the fishing with hooks and things like that, and that's a suggestion. So that's something, Doug, I think that you guys will have to look at and see if that makes sense to implement.
What committee would that go to consider? Security, maybe? ECC, security?
Yeah, wouldn't hurt to.
I'd
talk
say
to
Bob,
Bill
take that to security and see if they're willing to support something like that. The next one is from Martha, excuse me, I can't read my own writing, Martha Gassman, 1182. I think this was relating to the comment about the signs and yards. Why are flags permitted when signs are not? So I assume they're talking about political flags. I don't know who that would be to.
So I'll attempt to speak to that. There's been minimal discussion from the ECC. A flag is on a flagpole, so if it's not on a flagpole, it's a sign. So just be cautious of that. I don't know that we necessarily have anything that, if you fly it on a flagpole, I don't know that we could do anything about that. But if you're hanging a flag in your yard, it's then a sign. So it's subject to the size restrictions, and you'd be subject to an ECC violation.
Great. So Doug, maybe, talk to security on flags as well that are just maybe hanging over decks or what have you. Are we investing in better cameras? Bob Meekins, 47.
Greg and I have had several meetings with Bob Miracle on looking at issues and upgrading our technology. We understand that is a very significant problem that we have been addressing, and we're definitely looking at all possibilities, and we know that that's an issue.
We haven't purchased any better cameras yet, but we're considering it.
Yes.
Okay, in consideration.
And kind of the foundational piece to that is to get the Wi-Fi signal strong enough, and that's an Armstrong issue, so it doesn't matter what cameras we have, if they've got to be up and running with a strong signal. So those two things are hand in glove.
I would suggest those wouldn't be Wi-Fi cameras, though. Those would be hardwired, I would imagine. I would imagine Armstrong has to run, but that's just a thought. Let's see, Rich McCluskey, 780. Do you have an update on the dredging project?
Dredging is still happening. They will be in Area 5 through probably early November and so forth. They will finish up in Area 5 this year.
Great. And Lewis Van House, 1081. What type of agreement is in place with Armstrong? Did the association have to enter into a contract due to the build-out?
Ironically, we had a meeting today with Armstrong that didn't exactly go the way that we had anticipated, so we are still waiting for responses back from the GM and various representatives from Armstrong.
Okay. Lori Armstrong, 4368. Some folks in Unit 4 do not have email. Could you also set up a paper ballot at the office? And is that possible? Paper ballot at the office for those in Unit 4 that want to vote? Is that a yes? Yep, we will do that. Let's see, Ben Pernowski, thank you, 10190. I think this, let's see, how is a stop work order, will a stop work order be affected, or how would a fine work in conjunction with a stop work order? I think that's the fine for doubling the fines that we were talking about.
So it'd be, I think, every 60-day stop work order fine. If it went longer than 60 days, may be subject to that. Ron, can you speak to that at all, please? You're better at it than I am.
A stop work order is placed in a situation where there is a violation of the building code. And to get that lifted, it's $70. So, and every time it's implemented, it's $70. So the 60 days would apply. The 60 days it wouldn't really apply. The idea being, if you get a stop work order, you stop work. Now, if you don't stop work, then there are other fines that we can put into effect, such as the one that Ned referenced, about $25 a day. But a stop work order is a serious step, and we don't take them lightly, but that does happen.
Okay, thank you. A couple more. Let's see. Michelle Montag just clarified pontoon pools are the 24th and 25th of October, and the 31st and the 1st of November. Catherine Link for 331. When will the website be updated? Are we making any improvements to the website? I think that's something office is looking at.
Leslie and I talked about that last week, and there are some changes that have already been implemented, and for the first time he's very responsive to answering our questions in the office. So Leslie's done a great job, and kind of like lighting the fire under him. So we will definitely be seeing some changes in the very near future.
Great. All right. And then I see there's a whole lot of just kind of comments, I'll call it. Looks like, membership's having a lot of good conversations here. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any more questions. When is dumpster days, Lori Armstrong? Good question. Are we having a dumpster day this fall?
Yes, we are having a dumpster day, and we'll send out a mass email on that with specific times and so forth that will be located behind the main office.
Okay.
It's one day on October 9th. It's October 9th to the 14th.
Okay. Either October 9th or the 14th. You could check with the office. They'll confirm that for you. It'll be in the Chronicle coming out on the 30th, so you can check with the office.
It's at the office all day on the 9th.
Great. And then I guess another comment. This is from Michelle Hyman, Unit 4, Lot 11. Let's turn the rustic campground into a park for kids. I'd suggest taking that to the Long Range Planning Committee. Sounds like a good idea. Could you please clarify what Area 5 means on the dredging project? What does Area 5 mean?
Area 5 is in the location that they're currently in, and they will be in that cove for the remainder of the dredging process. So depending on the weather, it'll probably be through early November.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the large cove off the main part of the lake, I guess you would say. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's one of the dredging areas. Yeah, it's not the big south. It's the second largest cove. Yeah, to the left of that.
Yeah, and the next comment goes hand in hand with that. Might be something good to think about from Rob Turner, 10187. Can someone make a map available showing the areas already dredged and the areas that are planned? Might be something good we could post, and everybody could see, because this is an ongoing project, might be something good to put on the website, wouldn't have to be updated a whole lot.
Yeah, I can answer that too. Yes, we can, because we do have individual maps of every area, and it shows where the silt is and the depths and all that kind of stuff. So all we have to do really is overlay, which ones we've done, which ones we're still working on, that kind of thing. So that's a good idea, actually.
Good. Okay, last one is from Bob Meekins. Dogs illegally on the beach are a problem. Children play there, and the entire park should be dog-free. Park in the beach. I don't know off the top of my head what the rules are as far as pets in the beach.
Yeah, they're not allowed on the beach. That's an enforcement issue. So I think that's one for Doug and security and others to pay more attention to. If we've got something on the books, we need to enforce it consistently, or someone needs to question the rule.
Good. Okay, that's all we have right now.
Work through them all. Okay. Let's see. All right, so we're going to...
sorry, missed a couple here. They're reminding me. There was a question on where ATVs are allowed. On the road currently is the only place, right? And there are certain restrictions for that, which you can find in the handbook, I believe, right? Candlewood handbook on the website. So it's on the road, certain requirements for driving and what has to be on it as far as identification. You can look that up on the website. And there's Catherine Link, the water leak in Unit 4. Suggest calling the office to report that, please. Thank you.
If there's no other business to come before us, our business session is over for tonight. I'm not going to adjourn the meeting yet. We're actually going to go down. We're actually going to go downstairs. We have a couple items for executive session with the board only. Thank you so much. Thanks, Rich, for your technology efforts, and all the people participating here, and all the folks online. Ron, do you have something?
Just a clarification, the ECC meeting will be downstairs on the 6th.
Thank you, Ron. Okay, if the board would convene downstairs. Thank you. Thank you all for attending. Yeah, all right. Entertain a motion to go into executive session. Second? Jonathan? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, see you downstairs.